Part 152. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1511. Because it was summer vacation, all my little friends of the same age returned to the village. Of course, some people who dropped out of school to work did not come back. The villagers surrounded Su Tianqian and me into the courtyard. Mr. Fu led me and Su Tianqian to stand in the courtyard, and then said loudly to everyone present, "Dear fellow villagers, I originally wanted to treat you to a casual dinner tonight to thank Xiao Su for everything he has done for our village. Everyone has heard that Xiao Su brought back a daughter-in-law when he returned to the village this time, so I wanted to hold an engagement party for Xiao Su. Does everyone have any objections?" The villagers focused their attention on me and Su Tianqian. When they saw Su Tianqian standing next to me, they looked amazed and nodded in agreement. The engagement banquet is quite complicated. The first step is to discuss the betrothal gift and dowry between the two families. The most important thing is to reach an agreement on the betrothal gift. The second step is to arrange the time, place, and number of tables for the engagement. Determine the list of engaged persons and prepare 3 betrothal gifts. The 3 gold items are gold earrings, gold necklace, and gold ring. Because it was a sudden decision, I didn't have time to prepare these things and had to make up for them afterwards. I whispered to Su Tianqian, "We will prepare the betrothal gift and other things for you when we return to Tianfu City." Su Tianqian looked up at me and replied in a low voice, "No, you know that I am not short of money." I was slightly startled and asked curiously, "Tianqian, have you never told me how rich you are?" Su Tianqian stretched out her white jade hand and put it lightly on her chin, thought again and again, and said to me, "There are many, I don't know. In short, if we don't do anything, we can live a lifetime." The corners of my mouth twitched slightly. I had long known that Su Tianqian was rich, but I didn't expect to be so rich. If I don't do anything, I can live a peaceful life. Could it be that I, Lu Su, am married to a rich woman? Su Tianqian fumbled in his pocket, handed me a bank card, and said, "There is some money in this card. You can spend it as your pocket money. If it is not enough, ask me for it. The password is yours birthday." How embarrassing. Although I said this, I still stuffed my bank card into my pocket. Seeing my move, Su Tianqian rolled his eyes. "Xiao Su, if you make me angry in the future, I will stop your card and let you drink northwest wind." Su Tianqian said seriously. "Are you willing to?" "Of course I'm willing to give it up." I looked at Su Tianqian and smiled at each other. Later, Mr. Fu led Su Tianqian and me to sit down. Mr. Fu very considerately arranged for me and Su Tianqian to sit at the table with my childhood friends. Looking at these familiar faces around the dinner table, I feel happy. Su Tianqian and I had just sat down when a fat man stood up and walked towards me. "Lu Su. Long time no see." The fat man came to my side and hugged my shoulders affectionately, smiling heartily. This fat man's name is Luo Kai. He and I grew up together. He and I were the kind of mischievous people. When we were children, we often fished in the water and climbed trees to dig out birds' nests. However, this Luo Kai was as skinny as a monkey when he was a child. How come he is as fat as a pig now? "Roland, why are you so fat?" I asked confused. Roland laughed and said, "I don't know what has happened in the past few years, but I have a huge appetite. I have become so fat after eating. But you, kid, have not changed at all from before. If there is any change, it is that you have matured many." Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1512. Luo Kai has a problem, that is, he is talkative. Once the topic is opened, his mouth will keep talking like a machine gun. "Lu Su, do you still remember when we were kids and we peeked?" The corners of my mouth twitched slightly and I said, "Luo Kai, don't talk nonsense. That time you were going to peek at someone taking a shower, and I was there to keep an eye on them, but I didn't look. When I was young, this guy Luokai peeped at the village widow taking a bath and insisted on dragging me along. I was afraid that I would be discovered and I would look out for him, but what happened next? He was discovered anyway, and after Roland returned home, his father beat him so hard that he couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. Su Tianxian looked at me curiously and asked, "Why are you peeking?" "It's nothing." I waved my hands to Su Tianxian and said, "It's all a matter of childhood. I won't mention it anymore. I won't mention it anymore." I quickly winked at Roland, who understood and said nothing. Afterwards, I greeted everyone present cordially, exchanged greetings, and introduced Su Tianxian to everyone. When everyone learned that Su Tianxian was my girlfriend, all the men present looked at me with envy. After exchanging pleasantries, we started eating. Soon, the sun sets over the western mountains, and the dim afterglow lingers like flowing clouds over the high mountains. Everywhere you look, there is peace and beauty. Halfway through the meal, Mr. Fu came to me and said, "Xiao Su, your grandpa is gone. Now is your engagement day. On behalf of your grandpa, you will toast everyone a bar." I nodded, picked up the wine glass, came in front of everyone, and said, "Dear fellow villagers, thank you all for taking the time to attend my engagement banquet despite your busy schedule. My Lu family has experienced great changes. Now only my third uncle and I are left, and my grandfather is no longer here. But don't worry, everyone, this is my hometown, and I will do what my grandfather did before he was alive. If you encounter anything strange, just come to me and I, Lu Su, will help you solve it." When my grandfather was mentioned, all the villagers present looked sad. During his lifetime, my grandfather was loved and respected by everyone in the village. Almost every family in the village was favored by my grandfather. And my grandfather also regards these villagers as relatives. Now that he has left, I will protect these relatives for him. I picked up the wine glass and drank it all in one gulp, and everyone raised their glasses in return. After drinking a glass of wine, we have to toast one by one with Su Tianxian. After all, this is our engagement party, so we still have the most basic etiquette. I took Su Tianxian from table to toast, because Su Tianxian was not feeling well and had to do it for me. Halfway through the toast, I felt dizzy. "Xiao Su, are you okay?" Su Tianxian asked softly. I waved my hand and replied, "I'm okay." I took a deep breath and looked around. It was already dark now, but the village chief's house was still brightly lit and bustling with activity. Just when I wanted to continue toasting, an ominous premonition suddenly rose in my heart. Su Tianxian also seemed to feel something. She frowned and turned to look in the direction of the door. Outside the gate, it was pitch dark and I couldn't see anything, but I always felt like there was a pair of eyes staring at me in the darkness. I stared into the darkness, and at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the darkness. The figure slowly walked from the darkness into the light. "Lu Su, why didn't you notify the slave family that you were engaged?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1513. This voice is enchanting, tingling, and soft. When you hear this voice, it's like a kitten is scratching your chest, and you feel aroused. The beautiful figure slowly walked out of the darkness, and a long, slender, snow-white leg stretched out from the darkness, followed by a slender waist, then a plump breast, and finally a face that was extremely charming. When I saw this person's appearance, I immediately frowned. "Sudaji, she is here. Lu Su, we meet again." Sudaji smiled seductively at me, full of charm. I looked at her warily and said nothing. Sudaji covered her mouth and smiled sweetly, saying, "What? You can't even say anything after meeting the new family." I looked at Sudaji and said coldly, "What do you want to do?" Sudaji winked at me and said, "Of course I'm here to attend your engagement party." "What? You don't welcome me? Attending an engagement party? Only ghosts believe it." This Sudaji asked the fox spirit in the village to kill everyone in the village just to increase his moral integrity. How could he be kind enough to attend my engagement party? Su Tianxuan's beautiful eyes slowly swept over Sudaji's body. With just one glance, Sudaji's eyes flashed with fear and she subconsciously took a few steps back. Su Tianxian spoke slowly, and his calm and indifferent voice reached my ears. "If you have anything to say, say it." Sudaji put away the smile on her face and said to Su Tianxian, "I am here to cooperate with you." "Cooperate?" I was slightly startled and asked, "What can I do to cooperate with you?" "You are the greedy wolf star. You and I are destined to fight until death." Sudaji looked at me and said word for word, "As long as you agree to cooperate with me, I will return to the palace voluntarily, and you don't need to do anything." Killing Zhu Shaxing is not the only way to get him to return to the palace. As long as Zhu Shaxing wants to, then they can actively sacrifice their luck and survive. However, several other 9 evil stars have a deep hatred against me, so naturally they cannot choose to return to the palace voluntarily. I still don't believe Sudaji, because foxes are the most cunning. Su Tianxian stared at Sudaji for a long time, then looked at me and said, "Let's talk to her." When I saw Su Tianxian say this, I didn't say anything else. The appearance of Sudaji instantly aroused the attention of all the villagers, and everyone looked at Sudaji with fascinated eyes. Sudaji's charm is innate, and she can charm all living beings just by standing there without any pretense or pretense. But compared with Su Tianxian, Sudaji was inferior in appearance and figure. I asked Mr. Fu to find me a room. Then, Su Tianxian, myself, and Sudaji sat together and started discussing. I asked, "Why do you want to cooperate with me? What is your purpose?" Sudaji glanced at me faintly and said, "Am I not a part of your plan? Zhangzia let me go in the first place just so that I could help you today." I was completely stunned. Sudaji said that she was a part of my plan, and the reason why she was still alive was to help me. My memory is not complete now. If it is complete, I can judge whether Sudaji's words are true or false. While I was deep in thought, Sudaji continued, "I know you don't trust me, so you don't have to tell me what I said with the goal in mind. I can only tell you that if you cooperate with me, you will gain nothing." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1514. Tell me what you want me to do for you and what benefits you can bring to me. I asked Sudaji. Sudaji pondered for a moment and said slowly, "I want you to help me find my remaining 6 tails." There was no expression change on my face. Seeing this, Sudaji asked, "Lu Su, I don't seem surprised to see you at all." I replied calmly, "I already know your purpose, and I asked you to tell it just to confirm it." I learned from the fox fairy that Sudaji was anxious to regain her strength because she went to Tushan to find the tail. If she could ask me for anything, I knew it was for the tail without even thinking about it. Sudaji covered her mouth and smiled sweetly, saying, "Lu Su, you are smarter than I thought. Tell me, what benefits can you bring to me?" Sudaji stretched out her jade hand and put it on her chin, lightly opened her red lips, and said slowly, "What's good, I will treat you as my master for the rest of my life, okay?" As soon as she said these words, Sudaji regretted it, because Su Tianxian was looking at her with cold eyes. Sudaji waved her hands repeatedly and said, "Just a joke, just a joke. I can voluntarily return to the palace and let you have the power of the evil star of greed, and, there is a place you can't go without me." "Which place?" I asked. Sudaji slowly uttered a few words, which shocked me. The place where Zhangzia's memory lies. I looked at Sudaji in disbelief and asked, do you know where Zhangzia's memory is? I do not know. I was speechless for a moment and said, I don't know what you are talking about. Are you making fun of me? Sudaji smiled sweetly and said, although I don't know where Zhangzia hides his memories, I know that without me, you will never be able to get in. Zhangzia's memory is very important to me. After obtaining Zhangzia's memory, my strength can be greatly improved, and I can also know some things. Sudaji said, only she can take me into this place. Could it be the sky coffin? I looked at the expression on Sudaji's face and knew that she had not lied to me. Zhao Mian went to find the place where Zhangzia's memory was. Maybe there would be news in the next few days. Seeing that I was unmoved, Sudaji continued, can't these two benefits satisfy you? You are really greedy, that's all. As long as you agree to cooperate with me, I promise to help you fight against the gods, and I will do everything I can to help you fight against the gods. Ways to enhance your strength. Lu Su, you have to know that your real enemy is not the gods, but it. Sudaji's words let me know that she, a fox, knows many things. If Sudaji can keep his promise, I might not be able to cooperate with him and turn enemies into friends, and I will have a lot of time and energy left. I still had the answer in my heart, but I still looked at Su Tianxian, and saw Su Tianxian nodded slightly at me, indicating that I could agree. Su Tianxuan's answer coincides with mine. I asked Sudaji, one last question for you. Did you want to kill everyone in my village before? Sudaji shook her head and replied, no, I did this to see you, but I didn't expect that you would come by yourself. Sudaji spoke in a firm tone and did not lie to me. I stood up and said, okay, I promise you, I can cooperate with you. Sudaji stood up, smiled at me, and said, then I wish us a happy cooperation. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1515. I nodded and asked Sudaji, when will we set off? Sudaji replied, let's go sometime. I still have things to deal with. When I want to leave, I will contact you in advance. Okay, I get it. Sudaji blinked at me and said, Lu Su, don't you plan to keep me here for dinner at today's engagement party? I glanced at Sudaji and replied, if you want to stay, then you can. Sudaji rolled her eyes and said, let's go. You won't leave me alone. With that said, Sudaji twisted her waist and left the room. I glanced at Su Tianxian and asked, Tianxian, are Sudaji's words credible? Su Tianxian nodded and replied, believable, if you think about it carefully, which one of the 9 evil stars didn't want to kill you on the spot when they saw you, but Sudaji didn't do that. Although her strength has not recovered, she think, there will be many ways to deal with you. Su Tianxuan's analysis is very correct, and I also agree with it. Okay, don't think about this matter for now. As long as I'm here, if Sudaji wants to play any tricks, I will teach her a lesson for you. I don't know how strong Su Tianxian is after accepting the inheritance, but the tone of Su Tianxuan's words seems like she can take control of Sudaji at any time. I smiled and said, okay, I'll listen to you. As long as you're here, I'm not afraid of anything. Su Tianxian smiled brightly at me, and we held hands and walked out of the room. The banquet was still going on. I held a wine glass and toasted from table to table. I drank about a dozen glasses, and they were all white wine. I'm not a good drinker, but I'm not bad either. After a dozen drinks, I felt a little dizzy. My childhood friends still want to drag me to drink, but I have no choice but to risk my life to accompany the gentleman. By the time the banquet was over, I was so drunk that I couldn't even walk. Su Tianxian helped me come to Mr. Fu and said, Mr. Fu, Xiao Su has drunk too much, so I will take him back first. Mr. Fu also drank a lot of wine, and his cheeks were red at this time. He nodded towards Su Tianqian and said, Xiao Xian, Xiaosu will be left to you from now on. I watched him grow up. This child is very good. But the fate is also very tragic. Grandpa, grandma, father, and mother are gone. From now on, you can only accompany him. As an elder, I don't ask for anything else. I just want you two to be safe, happy, and be together forever. After hearing what Mr. Fu said, Su Tianxuan's delicate body trembled slightly, lowered her eyes, and replied to Mr. Fu, yes. Then, Su Tianqian helped me leave. The two of us walked under the stars and the bright moon. Su Tianqian supported me and walked slowly. As I was walking, I suddenly felt my stomach churning. I broke away from Su Tianqian, staggered to the wall, and vomited profusely. Su Tianqian patted my back and said, don't drink so much next time. I felt much better after vomiting. I raised my head, looked at Su Tianqian drunkenly, and then held him in my arms. Tianqian. I am here. I really like you. Me too. How about we always be together? Never separate. Good. I asked about everything, and Su Tianqian answered patiently. In the future, we must have 10 children. No. 20. 30. Su Tianqian laughed when he heard my irrelevant words and said, okay, I'll follow you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1516. I smiled at Su Tianqian. Su Tianqian stretched out her jade hand and gently touched my eyebrows, saying, look at how stupid you are. Are you stupid? I feel like I'm smart. Su Tianqian looked at me with his eyes flowing, and asked casually, Xiao Su, tell me, what happened in the sky coffin? Do you really have a way to repair the sky coffin? Harm. What can happen? I subconsciously wanted to tell the story about how I used my 5 senses and limbs to repair the sky coffin, but I immediately realized something was wrong and quickly changed my words. My grandpa has already arranged everything, so naturally I don't need to worry about it. Real or fake? Su Tianqian asked rhetorically. Of course it's true. Su Tianqian looked into my eyes and asked, Xiao Su, why do I feel like you are lying to me? I rolled my eyes, grabbed her hand, put it on my chest, and asked, please touch my conscience, is it hot? I don't. Su Tianqian said. Touch it, touch it. Okay, okay. Touch me. How old is he? He still acts coquettishly with me when he's drunk. Su Tianqian helped me back home. After she put me on the bed, she went to the bathroom and after a while she put a wet towel on my forehead. I was very sleepy, my head was dizzy, and I said to Su Tianqian, Tianqian, why don't you stay in another house tonight? Su Tianqian asked doubtfully, why? I'm afraid I'll have sex after drinking, and you'll have relatives here. Su Tianqian chuckled and said, if I leave, who will take care of you? If you really dare to mess around, I will knock you unconscious. Okay, this is okay. Unknowingly, I fell asleep. I only felt Su Tianxuan's hand gently caressing my cheek. I vaguely heard her say, Xiao Su, I like you so much. I really want to stay with you forever and never be separated, but... I only heard this. I didn't hear the rest of the words clearly. Su Tianqian must have said a lot of words. My mind was so confused that I couldn't remember anything clearly. The next day, I slowly opened my eyes and stretched out my hand to rub my swollen head. I looked around and found that Su Tianqian had gotten up early. I got dressed and walked out of the bedroom, where I saw Su Tianqian preparing a meal and waiting for me for a long time. "Xiao Su, are you awake? Take a shower and then eat." I nodded, and after washing up, I sat at the dining table with Su Tianqian to eat. "Tianqian, what did you say last night? I can't remember clearly." Su Tianqian glanced at me lightly and said, "I didn't say anything, I just complained about you." "Complaining about me?" "Well, I'm complaining that you shouldn't drink so much." I smiled and didn't dwell on this issue any further. After breakfast, Su Tianqian and I packed up and prepared to return to Tianfu City. Before leaving, I said goodbye to the villagers and asked them to come to me if they had anything to do. The villagers sent Su Tianqian and me out of the village. I drove and took Su Tianqian back to Jiyuntang at noon. In Jiyun Hall, colorful butterflies chased Xiao He all over the room, while Nu Ba and Huaxiu sat aside and didn't know what they were talking about. When Huaxiu saw me coming back, he stood up suddenly, came to my side and whispered, "Brother, I'm ready. When should we start taking action?" Su Tianqian looked at me curiously and asked, "What are you doing?" Huaxiu's head turned quickly and he said quickly, "Nothing, I just want my brother to take me to play games." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1517. Su Tianqian looked at me suspiciously and asked, "Can you also play games?" I nodded repeatedly and replied, "Of course, I am a veritable esports genius and can play any game." Su Tianqian looked at me deeply, said nothing, turned and walked towards the second floor. Looking at Su Tianxian's leaving figure, I let out a long sigh of relief, then looked at Huaxiu and complained, "Look at you, you have no clue. What should you do if Sister Tianqian is so smart and is found out?" Huaxiu stuck out his tongue and replied, "Brother, I'm so excited." I rolled my eyes and said speechlessly, "I'm proposing, not you." "Why are you excited?" "I'm excited for you, brother." I stretched out my hand and rubbed Huaxiu's head dotingly, and said, "Don't be like this. If you get excited, I will get excited too." Huaxiu covered her mouth and smiled sweetly. I came to the female slave and said with a smile, "I'm back." The female demon nodded and replied, "I'm back. Just come back." If the female demon had not come out of the coffin, I would have died of guilt. "Now that you are back, you should live here well. If you want to get familiar with modern life, I will ask Huaxiu to take you there." "Good," the female demon replied. At this time, Cai Dai shouted from the side, "Lu Su, I can also take Sister Enba to play." I turned around and glared at Kaidi fiercely, and said angrily, "Don't teach your bad habits to the female slayer." Cai Dai crossed her arms and said unconvincedly, "What is a bad habit?" With that said, Cai Dai was about to come forward to argue with me. I was too lazy to argue with her, so I turned around and walked towards the second floor. Cai Dai was so angry that she stomped her feet on the spot. After returning to my room, I began to think about what I had to do recently. I don't know when Zhao Mian will come to me. When he comes to me, it means that I have to leave Jiyuntang and continue running. Sudaji said that I want to enter the place of Zhangzia's memory, and it is absolutely impossible without her. I don't think it's about how powerful Sudaji is. I guess it's because Sudaji made some kind of deal with Zhangzia. Only she can open that place of memory. Even if I find that place, I may not be able to enter. As for whether my guess is correct, I won't know until I meet Zhao Mian. In addition to this matter, I have another very important matter, which is to propose to Su Tianqian. I don't have much time, I must seize this short period of peace and Su Tianqian to do something that neither of us has done before. I came to the window and looked at the busy traffic on the street through the glass. As I looked, I felt that my eyes were blurry. I rubbed my eyes and found that the hazy layer was still there. I frowned and started to panic. No way, my eyesight. I rubbed my eyes crazily. At this time, there was a knock on the door from behind. I turned around suddenly. The door opened, and a familiar and vague figure walked in. "Xiao Su, please accompany me to the supermarket later." I was slightly stunned and quickly replied, "Okay." Su Tianqian noticed something strange about me. She came to me and asked, "Xiao Su, what's wrong with you? Why are your eyes red?" I replied casually, "It's just sand." I reached up and continued rubbing my eyes, and when I brought my hands down, I regained my vision. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1518. Xiao Su, are you okay? I smiled and said, "It's okay. I just squinted my eyes due to the sand. I'm fine now." Su Tianqian stretched out her jade hand, gently held my cheek, and asked softly, "Which eye?" I said, "Nonsense, right eye." Su Tianqian leaned forward with her pretty face, put her mouth to my right eye, and blew gently. "Do you feel better?" I nodded and replied, "Better." Su Tianqian complained a little, "Be more careful next time." "Okay, my dear wife." Su Tianqian rolled his eyes and said, "Go to the supermarket with me in the evening." I agreed, and Su Tianqian turned around and left. The moment Su Tianqian disappeared from my sight, my expression became extremely solemn. It is undeniable that my five senses and limbs are disappearing. My vision may disappear for a few seconds this time, or even for a few minutes next time, and finally I will become completely blind. I let out a long sigh, and for some reason I suddenly regretted using my five senses and limbs to repair the coffin. I was very firm when I made this decision, but now I sighed helplessly. Perhaps the reason why I felt regretful was because of Su Tianqian. Once the five senses and limbs disappear, I can no longer see her face, hear her voice, feel her body temperature, or smell her scent. Thinking of this, a wry smile appeared on my lips. Between the world and her, I finally chose the world. But it doesn't matter anymore, just cherish the moment. If that day really comes, I think I will find a place with no one and wait to die. Soon, evening fell, and Su Tianqian and I strolled along the bustling streets. Fire clouds linger on the horizon, reflecting the fiery red sky. The city is bustling with high-rise buildings, busy with traffic, and people coming and going. It is a prosperous scene, but it is so quiet under the cover of the dusk sky. I said to Su Tianqian, before going to the supermarket, "Let's go shopping first." Su Tianqian nodded and asked, "Where to go?" I thought about it and pointed in one direction and said, "Go to Zhuangzian Square." Zhuangzian Square is one of the largest squares in Tianfu City. Tianfu City has a long history and profound cultural heritage. Whether it is a square or a park, the district names in the city are very emotional. What is Loxia, Liangziu, Yiwu? There are countless names like this. Good. Jiyuntang is not far from Zhuangzian Square. Su Tianqian and I walked there, just to relax on the road and enjoy the evening breeze. This kind of life is considered comfortable. Soon, Su Tianqian and I arrived at Zhuangzian Square, where people came and played, most of them families out for a walk. Su Tianqian held my hand affectionately, and she and I were like a close couple. No, we were originally lovers. Su Tianqian and I found a bench and sat down, with bursts of music playing in our ears. I've heard the song before, it's You Can Hear It by Jejo. Su Tianqian leaned on my shoulder and listened to this song. I have a lot of feelings about this song, especially the lyrics. One of the lines is standing on the roof and just talking to the wind, not wanting to be influenced. I, Lu Su, have hated being restrained and manipulated since I was a child. I think this is why I left the tomb of the gods and did not hesitate to reincarnate for eternity. Moreover, this song also has a special meaning to me, that is, it is a portrayal of Su Tianqian and me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1519. There are some lyrics in it that touched me deeply. Secrets lie in my arms, only you can hear them. How much I want to hide your goodness, only I can see it. I think between Su Tianqian and I, only the two of us know each other's thoughts. Even if we don't say it, we can hear and see it. Su Tianqian leaned on my shoulder and hummed quietly along with the music. Standing on the roof and just talking to the wind, I don't want to be influenced. I hated the rainy sky until I heard someone say they love me. Su Tianxuan's voice is very nice, ethereal, and long, and as crisp as a lark. Her voice reaches my ears, just like the warm sunshine of the ancient city gently brushing your heart. After Su Tianqian finished humming, I looked at Su Tianqian in surprise and said with a smile, "Tianqian, I didn't expect you to sing this song again." Yes, Su Tianqian hummed softly and replied, "I am not a caveman, nor am I out of touch with the world. Naturally, I have heard it and can sing it." I looked at Su Tianqian with a smile and said, "Can I order a song?" Su Tianqian looked at me curiously and asked, "What song should I order?" I thought for a while and replied, "Play me a song called Lovely Woman." Su Tianqian was slightly startled, then rolled his eyes and said, "Shouldn't you be the one to sing this song to me?" I smiled awkwardly and said, "Do you believe me when I say I'm tone deaf?" "Of course I don't believe it. Your five senses are stronger than ordinary people, so how can you be tone deaf?" To be honest, I like listening to music but not singing. Since Su Tianqian wants to listen, I will give it a try. I cleared my throat and slowly sang, "I want to have a helicopter, I want to fly to the universe with you, I want to melt with you." The melody of the song is smooth and clear, and the lyrics are warm and smart. As I sang, I discovered that the lovely woman mentioned in the lyrics was not Su Tianqian, a beautiful, gentle and lovely woman. I believe that every man in this world has his own Su Tianqian in his heart. Perhaps, they are not as perfect as Su Tianqian, but it is undeniable that they can perfectly match your soul, know you, understand you, and accompany you. After singing a song, Su Tianxuan's pretty face turned red and her eyes were full of shame. I asked, "How was the singing?" "Yeah, it sounds good." I saw Su Tianqian blushing and asked with a smile, "Tianqian, why are you blushing?" "It's a little hot." I held her in my arms. Su Tianqian struggled a few times and then snuggled into my arms. Regardless of whether there was anyone around, I leaned down and pressed my lips to hers. After lingering for a long time, I let go of her. Su Tianxuan's face was red, her eyes were evasive, and she didn't dare to look at me. She whispered, "Xiao Su, you dare to touch me outside? There are so many people. Let's leave quickly." I don't know when a lot of people gathered around me. Su Tianqian was so embarrassed that I stood up, took Su Tianqian into my arms, and passed by everyone. Su Tianqian and I went to the supermarket. The blush on Su Tianxuan's face had not gone away until we returned home after buying groceries. After returning to Jiyuntang, Su Tianqian glared at me fiercely, then returned to the kitchen angrily with the dishes. Cai Dai held the lollipop in her mouth and asked curiously, "Lu Su, what did you do?" Sister Tianqian seems to be angry. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1520. How did you tell that she was angry? She was obviously shy. Kaidi rolled her eyes and said, "I know how to bully Sister Tianqian every day. When will I have to vent my anger for Sister Tianqian?" I stretched out my hand and snatched the lollipop out of Kaidi's mouth. "Eat less sugar, it's not good for your teeth." "Give me back." "No. Nabi is only interested in playing games and eating, especially food. If anyone dares to snatch food from her mouth, she will fight you to the death. No, this girl was chasing me all over the house with her claws and teeth bared. Finally, I handed her the lollipop and she gave up. In the evening, we sat around and ate together. After the meal, I simply washed up and got ready to rest. I came to the window and wanted to close the curtains. At this time, I saw a familiar figure from the corner of my eye. It was Zhao Mian. With a stern look on my face, I secretly left Ji Yuntang to find Zhao Mian. When Zhao Mian saw me, he smiled and said, "Your Majesty, you are living quite comfortably during this time." I rolled my eyes and said to Zhao Mian, "This is not the place to talk." The reason why I refuse to talk to Zhao Mian here is because I am afraid of being discovered by Su Tianqian and others. Everyone around me has a grudge against Zhao Mian. Once they see it, they will definitely break the casserole and ask for the truth. Zhao Mian nodded and followed him to a park not far away. He and I sat on a bench. I asked, "Have you found it?" "I found it, but you can't get in." I looked at Zhao Mian and asked, "Do we need Sudaji to go with us?" "That's right." Zhao Mian nodded towards me and said, "It seems that you have already met Sudaji. If you want to go to where Zhangzia's memory is, you must go with her. Only she can open that place." This sentence made me believe that Sudaji did not lie to me and that she really wanted to cooperate with me. Sudaji did come to me and ask me to go to Tishan to help her find her tail. Only if she finds her tail will she go with me. Then go ahead. Maybe your strength will increase as a result. I nodded and said, "She said she would contact me in the next 2 days, and then I would go to Tishan." Zhao Mian looked at me and suddenly said in a serious tone, "You don't have much time. You know what's going on with your body. If I guessed correctly, your 5 senses and limbs have begun to fade. You must be there in the remaining time, return the other 3 evil spirits to the palace. Only in this way can you and I open the tomb of the gods, wipe out the gods, and cut off all the cause and effect and evil thoughts in this world. You go to Tishan, and I will go with you in secret." I looked at Zhao Mian and asked, "If you and I really destroy the gods, then who will be in charge of this world? Is it you? Or me? Or someone else?" "That's a good question, I don't know." I was momentarily speechless. Zhao Mian continued, "Don't worry, if our plan really succeeds, your question will naturally be answered." Zhao Mian stood up, waved at me and said, "Let's go, cherish the time now." I looked at Zhao Mian's leaving figure and let out a long sigh. Yes, I don't have much time. I still have a lot of things to do. To be honest, I really can't bear to live my current life.